Hello again everyone and welcome back to Skyblock News. I'm your host Derailious, and today we're going to be going over a few more updates on the Alpha network which are related to the Dungeonbreaker. This is the final Dungeonbreaker Alpha it seems, and there are a bunch of changes to go over. Before we begin, I just want to say, please make sure to like and subscribe down below as it really helps out the channel a lot, and make sure you use code RAIL on the Hypixel store for 5% off your order. It is the best way to support the channel. Thank you so much. Without any further ado though, let's get started. Alrighty, so today we have the forum post with the Dungeonbreaker back on the Alpha network. This is the last round of testing it seems like, and they should be ready for a release soon. The changes today include a new Wither Essence shop perk, Echoes of the Loss, which gives you 1 to 5 charges on your Dungeonbreaker after collecting a secret, goes from 250 all the way up to 5,000 Wither Essence to upgrade. The Tic-Tac-Toe puzzle room has been redesigned, we'll check that one out in a little bit. And there are weaker variants of the Dungeonbreaker at Centauri for testing purposes. The idea is to find a comfortable number of charges and generation, coupled with the Secrets perk, to allow for purposeful stonking instead of just aimlessly breaking blocks to go places. If the charge gain is underwhelming, that can also be adjusted. With this last round of testing, they should be ready for a release soon. This is also a recommended 1.21 update, and they also state here, to clear up some confusion, with the release of Dungeonbreaker, we will be able to re-enable anti-cheat modules, which were limited or disabled to facilitate the previous behavior. This should eliminate certain map exploits and make dungeon moderation much more effective. Let's get in-game to check this out. So after heading in-game, we have the 4 variants of the Dungeonbreaker right here. Dungeonbreaker A, B, C, and D. The differences between these are simple. A is 20 blocks that can be broken, and 2 charges per second. B is 10 blocks and 1 charge per second. C is 15 and 1 charge per second. And D is 15 and 2. I'm going to be completely honest with you here. Every single one of these, other than A, feels terrible in dungeons. I've briefly used all of them, and I just found the experience to feel way slower and way less logical. You can run out of charges ridiculously quickly with B as well as C. It's just, they don't regenerate very quickly. It can really slow you down. I don't think either of these are an option. D is a little bit better because the charge rate is slightly faster, but I still think 15 blocks as a total is not great. I think A is the only option here which actually makes sense for what stonking is actually purposefully used for. I understand they don't want people to break through the entire dungeon literally instantly. That's reasonable. But I don't think with this version of the Dungeonbreaker that is actually a significant problem. Alright, so here we are in the Tic-Tac-Toe room, and the first thing to note is that the lever is now right here underneath the side of the Tic-Tac-Toe board as well, so you can get in a little bit faster. Pretty sure there is a mystical force blocking you from actually breaking things, like you're not able to, dig properly in the room until it's resolved, so keep that in mind. But it should be way faster anyway to just come over here, open this anyway, and then immediately sprint for the chest. Nothing else is different, it's tic-tac-toe. You know how tic-tac-toe works, it's not really that crazy of a deal. The room itself is pretty, I like it, and I'm happy that they were able to keep it where it's not overly slow. Although keep in mind, it is alpha, so the alpha is incredibly slow at the moment. There's like 4 TPS total. Maybe even less than that as we wait for this to be solved. So, yeah. Okay, awesome. There we go. Tic-tac-toe is done. And we can get the actual chest here. So, keep that in mind. Room is different, but I don't think it's worse at all. If anything, it's pretty quick to be able to run over here and then grab it. And you can also, well, I guess you can't actually dungeon break in this room, but you can just, come over here and hit the lever pretty much immediately. Alright, as well in the Wither Essence shop, here we go. Here's the Echoes of the Lost. This restores charges to your Dungeonbreaker after collecting a secret. After using it briefly, I found it pretty useful, all things considered, but it did work best with Dungeonbreakers that were already pretty solid. So, it worked a lot better on A than it did on B, which B was the worst overall option from what I saw. It just felt very slow, like I was saying before. You could get yourself trapped extremely easily if you weren't paying attention to your charge rate. And I also imagine from what I've been hearing from people doing pre-dev and stuff like that, B and C were just not it. You don't have enough charges to reasonably do it. And also the recharge rate is so slow that if you fail at any point, you're just cooked for 5 or 6 seconds. They need to go with, in my view, A and at worst D. But I think A as a whole is the best option. Overall, it's cool to see the Dungeonbreaker wrap up on Alpha and get one final major testing period, but I really do hope the admins go with the best overall option, which is A, in my view. Anything else, once again, takes away from the idea of stonking being this thing that you're able to do to free up the rooms, free up the experience, and also would take away from pre-dev if you use B or C. D, once again, not the worst option in the world, but I just think the regeneration rate on the charges is just too slow on anything other than A or D to even be considered. If they wanted to go with something like 15 charges but 3 charges regenerated per second, that might be okay, but that would obviously require a little bit more testing. I would love to hear what you guys think about this final round of testing on the Alpha network, and look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.